In the middle of the 14th century, the city of Paris was enthralled. After a dozen generations, their grand lady, Notre Dame Cathedral, was nearly complete. While the inns and shops busied themselves with preparations, the up-and-coming smith, Biz Cornet, worked in his forge. As he donned his leather apron by the fire, he gleefully spoke to himself.
This is it. The post has set my reputation for life.
Oh, a post, a special post, attained with so much glee. A post to make a man brag and boast, a most glorious post that must be.
Biz Cornet froze, for that voice was not his own. It seemed to come from the very fires of the forge.
Who is there?
Oh, I am slave and master, chased vice, heavy with load, lifted by feather, deafening silence, the burn of ice, a scar from a wound you do not remember. I know who I am, and I know you as well, if you'll now allow me to say. For you are the most skilled and acclaimed, the brilliant smith, Biz Cornet.
At this, Biz Cornet gave a start.
You know of me?
He asked the flame. He moved toward the forge, fear turning to curiosity.
Oh yes, everyone is talking about the great work of Biz Cornet. His achievements have intrigued the most ardent, they say. His fellows wonder when he'll find a post to match his skill. I'll wager that here is the post to fit that bill.
Biz Cornet smiled proudly.
I'm to greet the hinges for the grand doors of Notre Dame. 'Tis a post both prestigious and public. I expect I'll get 5 more commissions by the end of the unveiling celebration.
Oh, that is quite a fortuitous selection. You will need to put forward pure perfection. A post like this is the chance of a lifetime for a smith. I'm sure you have only the best tools to work with.
Biz Cornet's face fell.
I have what I've been able to afford.
He sensed, unsure how, that the voice was now studying his hammers and chisels.
Oh no, this will not do. You must have the best possible tool.
And with that, from the flame, came a hammer.
Now this is a hammer fit for Biz Cornet. With it your arm shall never tire, your stroke shall never stray, and I can sell it to you for a fair price. Does say 100 gold pieces sound nice?
100 gold pieces. I have as much luck gathering all the piss pots in the Louvre.
Biz Cornet looked bitterly at his now drab tools.
Oh yes, the coin's dilemma. Here, you claimed bound to earn many commissions at the celebration. Pay to me the first 3 earned by the ceremony's duration. If you do not receive 3 commissions, coin in hand by the conclusion, then you must return the hammer to me as my own solution. Is it a deal?
Biz Cornet considered. He had meant what he said about the 5 commissions, and now, with the help of this hammer, he was sure to get 10. Losing the first 3 would hardly matter, and think what it would do for his work and reputation.
Yes, we have a deal.
For the next few months, Biz Cornet slaved away at the hinges. The friends that tried to visit were denied entry. Later, they swore that the very building was radiating heat, and they had heard 2 distinct voices coming from inside. The city wondered what he was up to. All the while, Biz Cornet created iron flowers and angels, dragons and lions. At last, the day came to begin attaching the hinges to the doors. A small crowd had gathered to watch. They shuffled about among some livestock, including a few sheep and a jet-black goat. The spectators marveled at the daring swirls of iron. Biz Cornet smiled, then yelled at his men to cover everything with sheets.
Fear not all. You'll get time enough to inspect my work at the ceremony next week.
As the crowd dispersed, Biz Cornet was approached by Madame Bassett, a woman high of both society and taste.
Oh, Monsieur Biz Cornet! I feel I've been hearing your name for months now, and yet no one seems to be able to get you in the flesh. I do wonder, Monsieur, now that you're coming to your grand début artistique, what will you do next? Certainly you're not accepting humble commissions from individual admirers.
What did you have in mind, Madame?
Oh, I've been searching just everywhere for a new chain, but everyone I've seen has been so simple, so rigid. I'm looking for movement and life.
Biz Cornet bowed low.
Madame, you shall have your chain in time to wear it to the opening.
Oh, how terribly exciting.
She pressed a gold coin into his hand and left on a cloud. Once back at his forge, Biz Cornet lit the fire and donned his apron. But when he went to lift his new hammer, he found it rooted to the spot. The voice emerged from the flame.
A purchased hammer may be wielded, a loaned hammer can as well, but a hammer held on credit shall hold till by gold expelled.
Bizcornet irritably abandoned the handle and returned to his old tools.
It is a simple commission anyway,
He told the fire nonchalantly.
but an important one.
He smiled to himself. The morning of the ceremony, Bizcornet strolled to Madame Bassette's house to present her with her chain. He was stopped in front of a livestock pen by another lady of stature, Madame Durand. In the pen, the chickens clucked, and a black goat looked on, as the madame inquired where Bizcornet was heading.
Madame Bassette's to deliver this chain she commissioned.
Oh, you're taking commissions already. You simply must make me a new brooch, monsieur.
Bizcornet accepted with a bow, and Madame Durand giddily pressed a coin in his hand. He puffed his chest as he continued on to Madame Bassette's. He remained so engrossed in his own successes that he did not notice the madame's visible disappointment in the piece.
Simpler than I imagined.
She murmured, but Bizcornet merely smiled, bowed, and took his leave. Merrily, he flipped his newest gold coin in the air.
2 down, and the doors haven't even been unveiled yet.
At the ceremony, Bizcornet stood tall at the top of the stairs. As the enormous crowd rang with excitement, a deacon leaned over to Bizcornet.
I pray you'll forgive, but I took a peek at your work. Might we discuss your creating the hinges for my village's church doors after the unveiling?
Bizcornet bowed low, but could not suppress a large grin.
That's the 3rd commission cinched.
Bizcornet thought.
Now I'm assured the hammer, and I'll get to keep any further commissions I get tonight.
The bishop finished his speech, and finally the doors were unveiled. A hush came over the assembly. The intricate designs, the delicate figures, the hinges seemed to swirl and come alive right in front of their eyes. Suddenly, a voice cried out.
I knew it! I knew it did not compare!
The crowd parted to reveal Madame Bassette, waving her chain in the air.
I commissioned a piece from this man after seeing the beauty of the hinges. I wanted magic and artistry, and I got a mediocrity's afterthought. By my word, the hand that made this chain did not make those hinges!
The crowd began to talk openly about the recent mysteries surrounding Bizcornet. Finally, the bishop lifted his arms to silence the parvus.
My children, this is neither the time nor place for such discussions. Let us move inside this holy house to continue the ceremony.
Unfortunately, when the priests attempted to open the doors, they remained firmly shut. The crowd became uneasy again. Bizcornet tried powerlessly to help get the doors to open. A priest by his side looked at him with suspicion, then sprinkled some holy water on the ring pole. At once, the doors gave way. In an explosion of panic, everyone rushed to get into the cathedral and away from Bizcornet. He turned to the deacon, who backed away from him in absolute terror.
Oh, please, sir, wait!
But the deacon ran inside. The last of the mob crammed into the cathedral and shut the doors, leaving a stunned Bizcornet in the empty square. After a moment, he realized that he was being watched. In the darkness of the far corner, there hung a pair of glowing yellow eyes. He squinted and perceived the outline of a jet-black goat, standing perfectly still, staring at him. Filled with fear and realizing his only option, Bizcornet turned and ran to his forge, slamming the door behind him. He saw that the fire was lit even though he had put it out the night before. He went to the hammer, picked it up, and hurled it into the flame.
There! Have your damned hammer back! I'm a ruined man with no use for it!
He moved to leave, but from the fire came the voice.
But Bizcornet, we agreed
You would return the hammer to me. You yourself.
In the oppressive swelter, cold realization seeped into Bizcornet's mind.
No.
He stumbled to the door and flung it open. The black goat stood outside. Bizcornet gave a cry and fell backwards. He looked helplessly between the forge and the goat.
No. Please, no!
He wrestled himself to his feet and tried to make a move for the door, but the goat rammed him in the side. Bizcornet cried out in pain and stumbled to the forge's edge. The goat continued to move in closer. Bizcornet held his side and began to sob as he lifted himself up onto the edge. As he pushed himself into the fire, he heard the voice bellowing.
Now all who flock to the opulent shrine to save their soul from the cold and their flesh from the singe. All who endeavor to seek heaven's state divine shall get their all. The devil